Greetings gamers, I'm Mark.
And I'm Manuel.
And welcome to Tabletop Throwdown. Greetings Manuel, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good. I'm doing good in the neighborhood. So, Mark, it feels like it's been forever since we recorded something. So what in the golden age of miniatures gaming are we exploring today?
We are going to jump right into Quar's War, the Clash of Rhyfles, which is the brand new box set from Wargames Atlantic Miniatures and Zombie Smith.
Cool. Awesome. Is this a new game that's just been released?
This is a new box set with hard plastic miniatures and distributed by Wargames Atlantic, but Quar and the concept behind them have been around for a long, long time. Brainchild of Josh, I believe it's Quiltieri, and he is the creator and founder of Zombie Smith Miniatures. So today, Manuel, we're going to play this Quar's War Clash of Rhyfles using the Rhyfles Pocketbook, which is the abbreviated rule set that is contained in the starter box.
Gotcha. But methinks that you dug something out of the old game box for today.
I did dig deep into the archives here, and I have our old metal Quar, which I've had painted for quite a number of years. I played a few times with the old rule set, and this is the comparison to the old metal models and what we have now with the hard plastics.
Yeah, so holding them in my hand here, the painted model is the old metal, and the gray here, of course, is the plastic. I can see the similarity in style. The styles is obviously similar. They look like each other. The plastic, the new plastics have maybe just a slight little difference in proportions maybe, but the scale is definitely the same. These look to me like they would be totally interchangeable on a game board. So you could mix and match, I think, and it would work out just fine.
Yeah, some of them could be a little more well-fed than others, we could say.
Exactly.
Yes, and the base sizes, as you notice, are different. I don't know if that's the original base that came with the old metal models or whether I just used something that I had. I'm not quite sure. But there are lots of lore videos and unboxing videos of the new plastics on YouTube. So shall we dive right into our battle report?
Yeah, let's get going. I can't wait to play.
Sounds good.
Okay, folks, so here we are. We're set up with a table with some terrain. Mark, what are we doing today?
All right, so for a small-sized battle like this, a little over 100 points, we're going to be on a 2-foot by 2-foot playing surface, which is marked with the dowels here. Larger games are usually on a 3x3. And we have two forces. We have the Croftians in blue, and we have the Crusaders in green. And each of them have a Milwer, which is a standard leader, and they all are armed with their traditional rifle equipment. So would you like to be the Croftians in blue, or would you like to be the Crusaders in green?
Well, I do rather like these blue uniforms on the Croftians, so I'm going to go ahead and be the Croftians.
Sounds good. And we're playing a mission today, and I'm going to go ahead and describe that right now to give you the details of what to expect and what our objectives are. So the scenario we're playing today, Manuel, is the meeting engagement. We just happen to run into each other and cross paths, and we immediately go into battle. And there is a main mission objective, which is the last rifler standing. So we want to eliminate as many of our opponent's models as possible. Whoever has the most points still on the board will get 5 victory points. However, there's a secondary objective where for each model you get over the middle point of the battlefield, you score 2 VP. This way, aggressive shooting is rewarded, and killing is rewarded, but also mobility and advancement is rewarded. So it should be a fun time.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, Manuel, let's roll off to see who starts deploying first.
Okay, here we go.
2.
And I got a 5.
Would you like to deploy first and then go first, or do you want me to and you can respond?
I'll go ahead and deploy first, sure. Let's
You can go up to 8 inches from your deployment line.
Correct. So
Yes.
I'm going to pull out my tape measure. And in this game, you can do pre-measure. You can measure distances at any time. And so feel free to have your tape measure out. So I'm going to take my Milwer, which is the, I guess you'd call him the leader, the sergeant, whatever, the leader of the team, and he's going to come right up here. I think that'd be a good spot for him, behind some cover there. And then I'm going to have a rifleman come up to be there with him as kind of his teammate there. We're going to go ahead and probably put a guy over here, back him up a little bit. And I'm kind of interested in maybe putting a couple guys perhaps over here. So kind of a broad front approach is what I'm going with here.
That looks good.
And there we are. And that goes to you, my friend.
It does, does. And I'm going to be doing something somewhat similar. My leader is going to be hugging that corner of the crate. He's going to have a buddy with a bowgun right here. And let's see. I'm going to get one guy in this crater here, which will be half movement if I want to get out for the difficult terrain, I believe. And let's get one here, and then let's just go ahead and get a guy behind this as well. And I think we'll call that deployed, Manuel.
Okay, that's the end of our deployment. Now, a couple of points of order here before we get rolling proper. Due to the game mechanics of the way that this game works, we have this activation deck here where we draw a card, and depending on the number of leaves, there are between 3 and 5 leaves per card, that's how many activations or actions that you can take. And so that's random. So I'm going to draw a card, but give it to Mark. Mark knows how many leaves, how many activations I have. I don't. All I know is I have at least 3, but I don't know yet whether I get 4 or 5, and Mark is the one that's going to be telling me that. So, first activation coming up, I'm going to go ahead and have my guy over here. He's going to go ahead and move up. He has a movement of 5. I believe all these guys have movement of 5.
That's correct.
And so I'm going to go ahead and just have him kind of shuffle over here. That's about 5 right there, behind that cover. And that costs 1 activation. At this point, I could attempt to shoot, but I believe ranges are a little bit long yet. I don't think I want to pop a shot just yet. Instead, I'm going to come over to the other side of this table, and I'm going to have this guy here. He's going to move up just a bit. Over here. That's about right. And that's going to cost a movement. And then finally, I'm going to have this guy come over here. Now he's kind of out in the open. He's a little bit vulnerable. I'm taking a little bit of a risk, and I'll show you why. Now I get to ask Mark, Mark, do I have a 4th leaf?
I'm going to ask you a question first. Do you want to go prone with him to duck down and make it harder for me to shoot you?
That would be an excellent point. So you can move your characters prone for free, as I understand.
Yes.
At the end of any movement. And going prone makes it more difficult to be hit, but then will cost you later if you want to get up and move normally again, or you can remain prone and move, but go half your distance. So there's costs associated with that. But by going prone here, at least I'll have some, a little bit of a bonus to dodge incoming fire. So yes, I will go prone with a token to mark that. And now I ask the question, Mark, do I have a 4th leaf?
You do have a 4th leaf activation, yes.
Therefore, I can go ahead and either move someone again or potentially shoot. We do have, for the sake of argument here, let's go ahead and go with a movement. Let's go with a movement. I'm going to take my sergeant, or my leader, I should say. I keep wanting to call him a sergeant, but a leader. And I'm going to go ahead and move him back here. And he's next to some cover there, and I will go ahead and use my point to denote that. And so I get to ask Mark then, Mark, do I have a 5th leaf?
You do not.
And that makes my set of activations, my turn, done, and it goes to Mark.
I will. Here's my activation.
Okay.
All right. So I know I have 3, so let me see what I want to do here. I'm going to spend 1 and move 5 inches this way. And this lad is going to kneel down and go prone, because you can do that at the end of any movement. And then I do have a clear shot. You can shoot when you're prone as long as you're not shooting through cover. So I'm going to shoot at your leader there. And that's going to be number 2. And I need to roll my 3d6, and let's see how I do. So my basic skill is 12, and let me make sure I'm not within 6 inches, because my bogey range is only 6, and I'm not at 6, so no modifiers. So let's see a 12 or less, Manuel. 15 is going to go wide.
And that was an unfortunate roll.
It was. Quite an appealing target you made there. However, not quite done yet with my turn, or my round, so let's go ahead and move this guy up 5. He's going to get within range of his bogan here, and my question is, do I have a 4th leaf, a 4th activation?
You do indeed.
I do. Okay. I'm going to take a shot at this guy right here. It's -2 to my skill because you are prone. So I'm going from a 12 down to a 10. And let's see what happens. 10, I did get you. Let me check the book to make sure that that is an out of action, and that equaling doesn't just hurt you in a different way. And you are out of action.
So we denote out of action by simply tipping the unit over, or the individual over. He doesn't necessarily mean that he is dead. It just means that he is unconscious, sort of out of it and down. So not quite dead yet, but out of action, not currently fighting.
And I believe that was my 4th, because I moved up, I shot you, I moved him, and I shot. Do I have a 5th leaf, Manuel?
And yes, you do indeed, Mark.
Oh, wow.
You do have 5 leaves.
I do have a 5th activation. Okay. I think I'm going to advance this Crusader lad right up here behind the barrel. And that will definitely be the end of the round for me.
Very good, very good. Okay, so then it goes to me. So here's my card. And again, I know I've got at least 3 activations, and I may have more. So let's see what we can do about this poor downed lad over here. There's a concept called recovery, in which you can essentially have one of your pals do first aid on you, is essentially what's happening, and try to recover the individual and get them back up and going. So I'm going to go ahead and move.
So Manuel, it is 10 wounded.
10 wounded.
And
yes.
you can only move within 1 inch of a model. So you have 2 options here. You can spend an activation to move him first, and then do the second activation to do 10 wounded, or it looks like you're about within a little over 2, so you could spend 1 pluck to move an inch, and then 1 action or activation to tend the wounded.
So to your point, you are correct. This would be the use of one of the applications of pluck. So I have 5 pluck as a starting pool. I'm going to go ahead and use 1 pluck. I'm going to move this fella, this lad, 1 inch, get him a little bit closer, so that when I use the tend wounded action, he automatically can move another inch to be within the contact there.
There you go, and that is
So
your first.
using
Perfect.
my action. And
And
the tend wounded action, you roll a d6, and then based on the outcome, you get whatever the resolution is. So let's see what I get here. I get a 6, and that is highly unfortunate because on a roll
killed in action.
on a roll of 5 or 6, that means the individual is in fact killed and removed from the board. So we will remove him completely. A result of a 3 or a 4 would have been wounded, which would have allowed the figure to continue playing, but with a limit of 1 action.
And that is kind of a house rule / fan rule that's going around right now. In the Rifler's Handbook, it's a little more complex for the roll of a 3 and a 4, but you're right. For the sake of us, we're doing 5 and 6 is killed, 3 and 4 is wounded with only 1 action permissible, and 1 and 2 is you shake it off and you stand up.
Correct. So sadly, I've lost that lad, but life goes on. The battle continues, and we must.
And I will interrupt real quick. You gain pluck sometimes, and I gained a pluck when I put him initially out of action, so I will go up to 6.
I see.
Sorry
Okay.
about that.
So I've got this lad, this brave lad that tried to help his comrade, sitting here out in the middle of nowhere. So I believe I'm going to give him another action to try to go ahead and get him out of harm's way. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and move him over here behind cover so he doesn't suffer a similar fate to his comrade. That'll be 2 activations. So, for my known minimum 3rd activation, I need to decide what I'm going to do next here. He is prone, so he's going to be harder to hit, but he is not. And he is open, even though he's right next to this cover. There's totally open line of sight between us. So I'm going to have my leader, my Milwer, take a shot on him. I'm first going to check range. The range on the Harlech rifle that I'm using is 8, and as you can see, he's well within that.
Are you shooting him or
Him.
him? Yeah. Okay.
I'm just showing how well within range he is. My basic skill is 12.
Yep.
No modifier, so I need to get a 12 or less
Sounds
to succeed
good.
on this roll. And I got a 14. With a roll of 14, unfortunately I've missed. The shot has gone wide, and that is it for that particular activation. Now, I get to ask Mark at this point, do I have a 4th leaf?
You do not, unfortunately. Manuel.
Unfortunately,
Sorry about
that's the
that.
end of my
Yeah.
my turn, and so now it goes to Mark.
Sounds good. So let me get you a activation card in secret here. And let's see what I want to do. I am going to probably go ahead and do a charge against your leader. And what the charge requires is 1 action and a pluck. Down to 5, because that was before 6. And he can move up to twice his speed, his movement allowance, and engage in a free melee attack because I'm coming into base-to-base contact with you. So let's go ahead and go right there, and we'll have a nice little battle with our 2 Milwers, and we'll go into melee. And you were the target of the charge, Manuel. Before I get there, do you want to do opportunity fire?
I would indeed.
Okay, let me go ahead and opportunity fire costs a pluck. Are you willing to spend that?
Yes, I will spend a point of pluck in order to take opportunity fire.
Okay, so you get to shoot at me charging you. The rifler fired upon may choose to reply with a reaction shot, diving for cover, or continuing their action after the shot is resolved. I'm naturally going to continue my charge. And in any case, the skill check subtracts the snapshot penalty for the weapon in addition to other modifiers. So let's check the snapshot penalty for a Harlech. And the snapshot penalty is -3 to your skill. So otherwise I'm out in the open. You need a 9 or less, Manuel.
So I need to roll a 9 or less on 3d6. Let's see how this goes. And unfortunately, I do not achieve that at all.
All right. It was a worthy attempt. It was a worthy attempt. So let's go ahead and go to a melee action here, and we will do some combat. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and perform a skill check to see if my melee attack hits you, Manuel.
Okay.
In this case, there is no modifiers because we're just fighting out in the open and no other conditions are applying. So let me see what I can do. My skill is a 12, no weapon modifiers or anything like that, and I did succeed. So there's no, it wasn't an extreme roll, so there's no other modifiers to the might roll, but I do roll my might and compare it to your toughness. So let me see what the might of a Crusader Milwer is. 1d6 plus 2. Let's see if I can knock your guy out here. 4 plus 2 is 6. Your toughness is 4. I did not double you, your toughness. I didn't reach an 8. So the might roll is greater than toughness. The target is gob-smacked. So let me go ahead and give you that token there. Got one right here.
And gobsmacked in this game is basically a form of stun. He's basically kind of stunned on his feet, but maybe not sure exactly where he is.
I'm going to spend an action. Move half my movement prone. So I'm going to move 2.5 inches because I'm prone and I'm staying prone, so my movement is halved. And now I'm going to take a clear shot with my third activation at your guy there. Do I have cover there, Manuel? You have better view than I do.
Well, it looks like using the base of the model, I'm at least half behind. However, physically looking at using true 3D line of sight, it looks to me like you're open. So I'm willing to accept the open interpretation here.
Sounds about right based on the rules, so let's go ahead and take a quick shot at you, Manuel. This will be my third action to shoot, and I need a 12 or less. Let me make sure I'm not at that 6-inch range. Okay, I'm under 6. 12 or less, let's see what happens, Manuel. Got 12, okay, so it looks like you're going to be knocked out of action.
Actually, that's an 11.
11, okay, so you're still knocked out of action.
It's, yes, just barely. So
barely, right. We'll get you there. And, okay, Manuel, do I have a 4th activation?
You do indeed.
Okay, sounds good. I could risk doing something that costs 2, but I'm not sure if I have a 5th. So I think I'm going to do a move action to sprint, which costs 1. And I'm going to move up to 10 inches. I'm going to get right up here behind this cover. Okay, Manuel, I would love to, he's already done 2 actions. I would love to do something else. Do I have a 5th activation?
Unfortunately, you do not. You've only got the 4.
Okay, hidden. All right.
Okay, well, things are not looking good for me. I've lost a guy, I've got 1 down, and 1 is gobsmacked, which is effectively stunned. I really need to turn this around. So, I'm going to go ahead and draw the card and give it to Mark, and I need to carefully decide what I'm going to do here. So, Mark, is there something that I can do to change my condition of gobsmacked to not gobsmacked? Do I have to have him tended to? What do I need to do to have this guy return to his normal abilities?
You spend an action to pull yourself together and get rid of it. In the meantime, the only actions you can take are going prone, moving half your movement allowance into cover, and recovering himself. So you probably want to spend an action to get rid of that, and then you would still, if you would like, for example, be able to attack me with a melee attack.
I see. Well, it looks like I'm already well engaged in there because I'm stuck in, and in this game there are penalties to trying to disengage from melee, so rather than risk that, since I've already got to get rid of the gobsmack, I am going to go ahead and expend 1 point in order to get rid of the gobsmacked condition. So now he's shaking it off, he's kind of, oh, okay, here I am. And then I'm going to go ahead and, as my second action with him, I'm going to go ahead and return the melee attack.
Sounds great. Make a skill check with no modifiers.
That's a d6?
No, 3d6.
3d6.
I'm going to roll 12 or less, Manuel.
So 12 or less on this, because there's no other modifiers apparently. And I get a 12.
You did. Nice. Okay, so there's no extremes on the roll, so we're going to skip the next table and go right down to rolling your might roll, and your might's dice that you're rolling for a Croftian Milwer is 1d6 plus 2.
Here we go. I got a 5.
All right, you have exceeded my toughness of 4. Had you rolled a 6, you would have totally killed me or knocked me out. But you've exceeded my toughness of 4, so now I am gobsmacked and not feeling too well right now. Good hit.
Okay, very good. Now, normally these individual fighters can only take up to 2 actions per
model.
Per turn. So I'm pretty much done with my Milwer for now. But I do have a couple guys over here. I'm going to go ahead and expend a 3rd point, action point, to activate him, firing on him.
Okay.
And I'm going to do a range check, although it's kind of obvious that he's well within range. He is. And so because my target is out in the open, you basically have no modifiers on you.
So within one range band, so you need 12 or less.
12 or less on this roll. Let's try to get an extreme one this time. That'd be nice.
There you go.
Oh my. And that is a 10.
All right, he is out of action. Good shot.
There we go. So, having expended the base 3 actions that I know I have, now I get to ask Mark. Mark, do I have a 4th leaf?
You actually do.
Wow, excellent. I'm going to go ahead and...
Oh, +1 pluck for you for putting me out of action. +1 pluck for me putting you out of action back here. Last round. All right, we're buffing up our pluck.
Yep. Okay, let me ask this question, Mark. In this game, is it permitted to fire ranged attacks into melees?
I do not know. Let's find out.
So, upon quick consultation with the rules, it turns out that I can in fact fire into this melee over here. The reason I asked the question is some games don't permit that. But in this case, after a quick review of the rules, we've determined that it is possible. Because this figure is gobsmacked, he will not react to fire. You can't do things like dive for cover or other reactions to it. So basically I have a straight 12 or less to hit him with ranged fire from this guy.
Can you measure range for me?
No.
See if you're range band 8, yeah.
So base to base, I am just inside. Just inside.
Just inside 8? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a close thing, but it's just inside.
Perfect.
Base to base. So it turns out that I'm going to...
Those Harlocks are good. Yeah.
Those Harlocks are good. So, yeah, let's see if I can get a 12 or less on this. No whammies. Oh, no.
What did you roll?
I rolled, it looks like a 16 on this.
Oh, you almost had a bad experience, but not quite. All right.
So on an extreme roll, as it's called, let's say, for instance,
17.
I had rolled, say, a 17, what would have happened?
You would have been gobsmacked yourself.
I see.
Yeah.
So the shot went extremely wide, maybe because I was concerned about hitting my leader.
I think you were.
Probably. And so that is my 4th activation then of the round, and I get to ask Mark, do I have a 5th leaf?
You are on the comeback. You do have a 5th activation.
Excellent. Okay. So now he has taken 2 actions already this round, so I can't use him again. But what can I do elsewhere? I believe I already used 2 on him, 2 on him. That means really I only have 1 guy left, which would be him on the end. He is behind cover, but he can shoot over the cover. This guy is in cover. So I believe I can shoot at him, but there will be modifiers, Mark.
Yes, there is. He's in heavy cover, so -3 to your skill, so you're down to a 9. And I believe otherwise you're within 8 inches, so you're good. Under 8 inches, so you're good there.
So yes, well within.
All right.
So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and try putting a shot on him.
9 or less. I'm hoping the dirt soaks this up.
And I get a 10, which is, oh boy, the dice are not in my favor today.
That cover did do its job just there. All right.
And so that is that for me. It goes to Mark.
Okay. Here's the activation card for Manuel. And I'm going to reset these, and let's see what I want to do. I am going to spend a point of pluck to move this model 1 inch, and I'm going to do an activation to tend to wounded and come over here 1 inch, and let's see if I can wake my buddy up, Manuel. He is up, but based on how we're ruling, he is going to be down to 1 action max per round. All right, so he stands up, he's shaking it off, not feeling super good, but now my guys are way out here in the open, and let's see what they want to do. Manuel, I am going to spend an activation to shake off this gobsmacked status. And even though my boys are out in the open and in quite a bit of danger, I am going to still try to take out that mill war once again. So let's roll 3d6 and see if I can get a 12 or less to do something to him. Definitely not. Stab and a miss, yes?
15.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a swoosh there.
Bit of a swoosh, all right. I don't want to take a chance shooting you with that hard cover there. So, this more valuable gentleman is going to spend an action. And he is going to spend a point of pluck to get over that halfway point and give you something to worry about with a charge. So I've come in, I do get a free melee attack, or melee attack included with the charge because of spending the pluck and everything. So
may I use the point of pluck to take the snapshot?
I believe you can.
Is that
Opportunity fire, you're thinking?
The opportunity fire.
Go for it, yes.
So.
And obviously I'm not doing any reactions, so yeah, you're within 3 range bands. Go for it. I think you're at a 12 or less.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and roll dice and see if I can actually get a decently low number this time. And I get a 8, 9, 10. I get a 10.
Oh. So, one thing that's not clear in the rules manual is where you drop him, but you dropped him with opportunity fire. What would be logical to you, right at the point of the beginning of the charge?
I would say midway between the two would make the most sense.
We'll drop him down there. He was on his way, you took a shot, and you certainly were effective in that regard. So he woke his friend up, got brave, and is now in the situation where his friend was just a moment ago. Manuel, do I have a 4th activation?
You do indeed.
I do. Okay.
Lucky for you.
Lucky for me indeed, yes. I am going to do another melee strike over here. Shake these dice up. And we have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, that is a success. Let me roll a d6, let me roll my might score against your...
Which was a d6 plus 2, as I recall.
1d6 plus 2. I need to roll high to do anything here. So these guys are not real dangerous in melee combat, just with their regular weapons. So 1d6 plus 2. We got a 2 plus 2 is 4. I equaled your toughness. Let's see what that does, if anything. The attacker can push the target 1 inch in any direction. I am going to... I'm going to push you away. Can you measure an inch for me there? That's going to make you have to spend an action to do something if you want to melee with me again. So let's get you back that way.
There we go. So methinks you're getting tired of the melee.
Yeah, I think so. I think I want to push you back and give you a nice clean shot with this guy who's prone here. However, do I have a 5th activation?
Sadly, my friend, you do not.
I do not. I had a feeling that was the case. Only so many of those good cards in the deck.
Okay, so interesting development.
Very much so.
I need to do some stuff here because I've got at least 2 of your guys that are over halfway across the board. Because remember, he's still alive. He's out of action, but he's still alive. And therefore I would consider him probably eligible for VP. So I've really got to take care of these guys. So first off, I'm going to, of course, draw a card and hand it to Mark. I am going to start by... Where am I going to start? Let's go over here to this guy and try another shot on him. See if I can get both of these down. And so, of course, range check while inside.
I am going to dive for cover as a reaction.
All right.
Within my 5-inch speed, I'm going to move over here, and that's going to be just a -3 because it doesn't stack with regular cover. So I think it's just a -3.
So this set represents my activation here.
Right.
So -3, that means I need a 9 or less.
Yes.
Come on. Oh my. And that's a whiff.
Here's a good opportunity. Do you want to spend a point of pluck to modify your die roll by 1? Because you were right at 10, Manuel.
That would be an excellent point. That'd be an excellent use of pluck. So I'm going to go ahead and spend the point. I'm now down to 2. I'm going to change my 6 here. That's what the dragon means on this die.
Yes.
6 down to a 5, which puts me at 9 exactly.
Oh, right. And 9 exactly means he is out of action. Good shot.
Okay, very good shot, actually.
And because you knocked him out of action, Manuel, guess what? You go right back up to 3 pluck, to my understanding.
That's correct, because when you knock somebody out of action, you gain your pluck back. So, very nice. That worked out extremely well.
It did.
So, I'm going to see what I can do to help my leader over here. Same guy is going to shoot across the board over here to him. Check range. He was in range last time, but I don't... Yeah, because he hasn't moved. So yes, he's still in range.
Okay.
Just barely.
Just under 8?
Just under 8. He is out in the open, no modifiers.
Right.
Looks like all I need is a 12 or less.
Good luck on that shot, buddy.
I'm going to need it. And I've got a 9, which is within the 12. So that should, I believe, put him out of action.
That knocks me out of action as well. Now I want to pause here a second, Manuel, and ask our viewers, at the end of this scenario, it doesn't specify in the meeting engagement rules, if I am down and out of action, I think I would not score 2 VP because I am not up and functioning. So if any of you know at home, please let us know if out of action troops score VP based on their position on the board. But we'll see what happens.
We'll see how this round plays out.
Yeah.
Because we're getting down to the brass tacks here, and it may actually be a moot point here soon enough, depending on how the dice treat me. So I know I have at least 1 more activation, and I have my Milwer still standing over here with an enemy opponent right in front of him. So I'm going to take my 3rd activation to have my Milwer shoot at this guy. Now, this guy is prone, which means he gets a negative...
It's a -2 to your skill, so you're down to a 10 or less.
So I need to get a 10 or less to put him out of action. So let's see if we can pull this off. And I get a 9.
Nicely done. He thought crouching down would help him, but you are a good shot. You're an experienced commander.
Very good. So now I get to ask Mark. Mark, do I have a fourth leaf?
Thankfully, for me, you do not, Manuel.
Alright, so that's my turn done. But I have to say I'm fairly pleased with the outcome.
Yeah, you've turned the tables quickly here. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and give you a card to look for me here. And I have, with this small of a battle, one troop and one trooper only that I can do something with. And what this Crusader is going to do is... he's going to spend an activation to sprint. And he's going to go twice his movement, but over the rough terrain. So let's just half that to 5. Does that sound fair?
That sounds reasonable.
Okay. He's going to send a second to tend to wounded. And I'm going to roll for my buddy right here, right in front of these two Croftian sharpshooters here. 6, my buddy is
Actually
killed.
dead.
Yes. And we also need to check, Manuel, because he was already wounded, he may be killed now because you knocked him out of action again. We'll have to check on that in a moment.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Now we find ourselves in the horns of a dilemma because you have now used 2 actions with one character, and that's normally a limit.
Right.
Can you use pluck or anything else to modify that?
To my understanding, I cannot do anything to give someone a third action that's already had 2 as an individual model, which means waking up my buddy didn't help. I checked on him and I am in dire straits, and I believe that's going to mean me passing back to you.
Very well, and that's so unfortunate. I really feel for you because you had 5 leaves.
Oh, no way.
You had so much potential, and I was
much potential.
I was thinking this was really going to go for you, but unfortunately that did not play out. Okay, folks.
Well, I think we should call it there and say that I am pretty much intimidated to run away and let you claim victory with a crossing of paths that we encountered today. What do you think?
I think that's a fair assessment because the straits look very dire for you right now. I've got 3 full actives on the board. You've got 1 guy. It doesn't seem very likely.
It doesn't seem very likely that he would even want to stick around. So good game, Manuel.
Good game.
And hey, we learned some of the rules today. It was fun.
Yeah, that was great. This is a very interesting game system, but we'll talk a little bit about that on the flip side.
Absolutely. So everyone, we enjoyed our game. We had a few questions that came up. We're hoping some of you watching can help answer those questions. The first one that I did bring up was, with the potential to score being halfway across the board, I'm assuming that if out of action, you do not score in the first engagement scenario. Manuel, what did you think about that?
That seems a reasonable interpretation. I was kind of trying to be generous in saying that even if they're down, they're still alive, because a downed character, an out-of-action character, isn't necessarily a dead character.
Right.
You don't make that determination until somebody tries to do the tend to wounded effect, and so you don't know until you do tend to do wounded whether they're actually killed or not.
What was our second question?
And our second question was when this character over here did the charge and I did an opportunity fire against him, where should he have dropped? Because I succeeded my return fire, or opportunity fire. Should he have dropped at the start of movement, end of movement, or the middle? We chose the middle just because that seemed like a reasonable interpretation.
Yeah.
But maybe somebody out there knows better.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Finally, something I'd like to point out, normally this game is played to a certain number of rounds, and a round is determined by the number of turns. Certain number of turns, pardon me, which is determined by the number of cards in the deck, here the activation deck. We still had a couple cards left in this activation deck. We didn't actually finish the full turn before we decided to concede it. So normally we would have played 2 or perhaps 3.
Two turns for a small game like this. Yes. More for higher level points.
Right, yeah. So depending on whatever the determination was, we failed to mention this at the beginning of the game, but we had decided we were going to play 2 turns at most, and we obviously didn't make it all the way.
Yeah. We were playing pretty aggro though, so we weren't being super cautious. And
we were fairly aggressive.
I
yes.
forgot about diving for cover until about halfway through the turn as well. So,
right. There was a number of times here where both of us could have used that. Okay. Well, that wraps up the game. We'll catch you in the outro here and wrap this up. Okay, and we're back. I enjoyed that. I thought that was a really interesting game from a game mechanics standpoint. I enjoyed the rule set, the way that it worked, had some interesting elements to its game mechanics, and I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed that.
I did too, Manuel. I love skirmish games, and in this case, even just using basic riflers, because you can also build snipers in this box too. Even using just basic riflers, there was a lot of decisions to make, a lot of cinematic moments, and there's more to come with more rules and a full rule set coming out and different models. So I'm excited about the game.
So we've left links down below to Zombie Smith Miniatures and Wargames Atlantic, distributors of the game.
Yeah, and if you fancied Clash of Rifles, pick it up. They're flying off the shelves, but Wargames Atlantic has excellent distribution throughout the world.
So help us out with a like and a subscribe if you enjoy this content. Amongst your game groups, you can discuss amongst yourselves, what do you think of the setting? What do you think of the world, the miniatures, and the game rules, the mechanics? And let us know in the comments down below.
We'd appreciate it. Thank you for watching.
Thanks a lot, guys. See you next time.